Well, to take us on a bit of a tangent, you said that Live Free and Die Hard is a great title. And I was going to mention this in my Die Hard video, but I decided not to because I guess it was too weird for that, but obviously not for this. To me, Live Free and Die Hard, I cannot hear that without thinking of Brian Blessed in Flash Gordon saying, "You've given an old bird a second chance." Right? Because all I imagine is him like putting his hand down on McClane's shoulder and going, "Ready, John? It's a good day to live free and die hard."
Flash!
McClane!
So in this, we're going to be hybridizing the two, this and another movie, and that's what we're going to be doing. No, when I read Live Free and Die Hard, all I hear is fucking Team America in the background. Actually,
yeah. Well, Live Free or Die Hard, I think it's called.
Well.
Yeah, Live Free or Die Hard. It's that's the fourth one. The fifth one is A Good Day to Die Hard. Yeah, I mean, why not just call it Die Hard Another Day?
I know, I quite like that.
You only die hard once. Welcome to the second episode of the Georg Rockall-Schmidt Show. Today we're going to be discussing what Hans Gruber could have gone on to do if he hadn't died at the end of Die Hard. Spoiler warning, by the way. So, Damien, thoughts on Hans Gruber?
Fantastic villain. I mean, I really like Die Hard, and I especially like Alan Rickman in this role. It's just a shame that he couldn't have appeared. I mean, that character couldn't have appeared in more of this franchise, really.
Yeah, so
they wrote him straight out by fucking Pancake.
I mean, what about Die Hard, Die Harder? That's a bit stupid.
That was going to be my next point. I quite like the titles of these movies. I mean, from like even the second movie, it very much kind of like wrenched itself apart from whatever the first movie was, really.
Yeah.
With those titles. Obviously there was, how do we make Die Hard is so fucking metal. This is a sequel. It's going to be more of everything. How do we make it more? Die Hard. That's it. Yes. Die Harder.
Well, do you not think they should have called the third one Die Hardest?
Well, then they write themselves into a corner. What happens when they want to fucking, resurrect it in 15 years?
Well, yeah.
What are they going to do? You didn't think about it.
Could have been called Dumb and Die Harderer. I don't know why we're talking about the titles of these movies when this is about Hans Gruber, but Die Hard with a Vengeance. So he is a Die Hard, and he's with a vengeance, or you should die hard with a vengeance. I think the word vengeance is a bit confusing.
Yeah,
well,
I mean, there's kind of a revenge angle with Simon Gruber, but it kind of feels like McClane's the one that's supposed to be avenging, but it's not really. It's unclear. I mean, I kind of feel with those movies, it's something that a lot of the fans kind of are just so au fait with, because it's a nuts name, even from the first movie. It's based. I don't remember what the name of the book it was based on, but they just, for whatever reason, call it. We've got this cop, and he's visiting his ex-wife for Christmas at our office, and it's, he finds himself trapped inside when these terrorists come in. What is that movie? What do we call it? Die Hard. I mean, there's no logical fucking link, really. It's just
because he is a Die Hard. He doesn't give up. He's a Die Hard.
Right. Okay.
That's what I always thought it was. But then, yeah, with Die Harder, so he's
maybe it's a generational thing, because I mean, my first kind of experience with that fucking phrase will have been the movies, and to a lesser extent, the PlayStation game Die Hard Trilogy. So, like, people using Die Hard as a phrase came afterwards for me. So yeah. I didn't really think about it in those terms. I just think it's just a nuts kind of like, how do we make this more action type name?
Mm-hmm. Well, okay, so kind of just to go over the point about the book. And I did mention this in my video about it, but I'll just go over it really quickly. The book is by Roderick Thorpe, called Nothing Lasts Forever, which he wrote in 1979, and is a sequel to his 1966 book, The Detective, right? The Detective was made into a 1968 film starring Frank Sinatra. And when they made Die Hard, they were contractually obliged to offer Frank Sinatra the role of John McClane. which very logically he turned down, being like 1 million years old.
Yeah, the legal system, I suppose. But that's fucking fascinating. I would love to have seen that, though.
Yeah.
Or at least his involvement in that movie,
Yes, yeah. So yeah, he was in his early 70s, and they had to offer him the role in Die Hard. That's amazing.
That is superb.
Yeah. So yes, Gruber is a fantastic character, and I even though he was going to kill the hostages, I do kind of want him to win every time I watch Die Hard.
I mean, when you watch Die Hard and you've got whatever his name is, but there's one of the guys in the office who it's bearded guy. He gets shot in the end, but he's
Ellis.
caught like doing a line of coke in the office at the party. When I kind of see people like that as in a hostage situation, I'm not that fussed if they're in peril, really. And definitely like the stereotype they nod towards with Ellis. It's like, well, these people kind of go fuck themselves a little bit.
Yeah, I mean that was definitely the intent with Ellis, wasn't it? To show that the bad guys are bad, but also, hey, they didn't kill the pregnant woman, did they? They killed a knobhead. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say without Alan Rickman though, I couldn't give a fuck about the rest of the terrorists. They're all completely replaceable. I did what I really like more than one of my favorite lines in the movie. Well, not really favorite line, but more the delivery is when he's sizing up. He's trying to search him out of the crowd, and he's talking about Takagi's accolades, and like Takagi finally steps forward, and Gruber finally spins around with the last. His last fucking title, which was like Father of Five, and it's fucking chilling.
Yeah.
And he lays his eyes on him. That's fucking brilliant. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So really, the reason we like Hans Gruber, what we're saying is that he manages to be both threatening and charming. He manages to be both dangerous but reasonable.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's just cool as fuck.
And he's very cool.
I'd be kind of a little bit more simplistic with it.
Okay, and he's very cool. He's very cool. Yeah, I heard Arafat buys them there.
Yeah, that's exactly the line I was going to quote. Yeah, nice suit.
Nice
John
suit.
Phillips, London.
Can you do an impression of Hans Gruber? I don't think I
No,
can.
I'm not gonna embarrass myself. I'm nowhere near that fucking silly.
Okay, I'm going to do one. You ready for this? This is going to blow you away.
Okay.
Oh, that bloody cowboy!
Footsteps.
Okay, so listen, I have a few ideas for films which could star Hans Gruber. Do you have any you want to start with, or shall I just get straight to it?
Oh, no. I'd like to kind of hear where you want to go first.
Okay, so this, I think, could have been the greatest film never made. Okay? And it obviously can't be made because everyone involved in it, who I'm going to name, is dead.
Shoot.
Richard Pryor is blind. Gene Wilder is deaf. And Alan Rickman is Hans Gruber.
Okay.
All
right. Can I cut you short? What is the title of this now? Or is it all right? I'll tell you what, I'll butt out.
I don't know. I haven't come up with a title, but I guess it could be Hear No Evil, See No Evil, Hans Gruber.
Hans Gruber. Yeah, naturally, can't fault the logic there.
Okay, so Pryor and Wilder run a store in a mall, and I have two versions of this, okay? So the first one is Gruber works with them and robs the mall without their knowing. And the second version is Gruber invades the mall, like in Die Hard, and Pryor and Wilder are a two-man John McClane.
Ah, okay.
And they have to, one has to see and one has to hear. Obviously.
Yes, and unlike Die Hard, where Gruber finds himself outmatched, he is obviously pitifully, these two guys are pitifully outmatched by Gruber. So it can only be described as a mercy killing,
Instantly kills them.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's just I would say a montage, but we just follow Gruber just ruthlessly fucking, burning through Tiffany's in this mall and stuff like that. He may as well have fucking, he's got a sack on his back. It may as well have fucking swag written on it, right?
Okay.
And you have these two kind of that just manage to fucking bumble in front of him.
I mean, what about if the kind of twist is that he's doing this robbery and he's fighting McClane, who's in the mall, but Pryor and Wilder don't realize that McClane exists, and they think that they're the good guys, but they're actually nothing. No one cares about them. They're not doing anything.
So do they think they're actually McClane, and they're in one kind of communal wife beater.
Like they're in one
kind of
body.
doing
No.
a three-legged thing.
So, yeah. No, they think they're the heroes, but they're not doing anything helpful at all. And
But they don't think they're John McClane.
They don't think they're John McClane. They think they're the role of John McClane.
Right.
Okay. So that's one idea I have.
Okay.
Do you like that? Do you want to give your idea now?
I kind of feel like the movie that I wanted to see was Rickman as Gruber, essentially avenging his own death on Bruce Willis in every one of his Bruce Willis's subsequent roles. So basically, it's just a series of vignettes where you see Bruce Willis in some of his most famous roles, where Alan Rickman in his 1989 Glory is superimposed into the background of every shot, only ever so slightly. Like, say, if Bruce is walking through like a cafe or something, like if you look carefully in the background, you'll see Alan Rickman there, sat there, watching him. Like, he's completely oblivious.
Yeah, like,
and much,
yeah, I get you. Like, he's an Easter egg, but he's also the reason you're watching the movie.
Yeah. But every now and again, it's just a little bit too much, and you understand. And
right, okay.
anytime, it's like Bruce Willis's like most famous performances, but much like he whenever he's got like a speech or something or other, it just like cuts to black like Soprano style. And with just that gentle nod to, Gruber in the room, you know what's happened.
You know what's happened, yeah. Like there has to be a bit where Bruce is talking to someone, and they're saying, "What do you think happens when you die?" And Bruce Willis is like, "I think it just goes black." I think it's just an immediate kind of cut to black.
Yeah. I just like the idea of it's just like Hans Gruber can now exist in any cinematic universe and just has this undying vendetta against Bruce Willis, and will at every turn put him in the fucking ground.
So
but I kind of like the idea of it, never explaining how or why this is happening. It's just this kind of Lynchian nightmare where Bruce Willis, not John McClane, Bruce Willis is constantly being shot down by Hans Gruber.
It's very clear it's Bruce Willis. Yeah, he's actually talking about the Die Hard film, and
it's just like you see like Hans Gruber in The Fifth Element now.
I see what you mean. That would be fucking amazing, wouldn't it? Well, before I go into like my more batshit stuff, I have a couple of ideas for kind of how it could have been if he had survived somehow Die Hard 1. I was thinking, whilst catching separate flights, McClane and Gruber must separately fend off a terrorist attack at Dulles Airport before putting their differences aside to beat the baddies. My version of Die Hard 2. So that's very straightforward. But Die Hard 3 is where it could really come off. It could be Die Hard 3 is the same film, but with Gruber in the back seat of the taxi and John Candy as disgruntled postal worker Morris Aquitaine as the baddie.
Okay.
So
I kind of want to hear a little bit more about that.
No Simon Gruber, it's just Bruce Willis,
Uncle Buck,
Samuel L. Jackson, and Hans Gruber all travelling across New York to try and stop disgruntled postal worker John Candy, obviously.
But this is like the role that defined John Candy as well, just before he passed away. It's this really severe fucking role where he is like he's a crazed gunman and he is putting people down. It is fucking hardcore. It's unlike anything he's ever done up until this point.
Yeah, I mean,
never taken seriously as an actor, but this is what he was remembered for.
That's right. He shoots up a federal building right at the beginning. Mm-hmm. Our introduction to him is like a woman on her knees screaming and praying for mercy, and he just emerges through the smoke and puts a cap in her ass, in her bottom.
Oh yes, of course.
I mean, in her brain.
In her brain.
Brain. Well, that's all I've got. I just thought that would be fun. If it would have been fun, wouldn't it? If Hans Gruber was also with Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah. Without a shadow of a doubt.
Okay, so I've got a really kind of crazy one. Do you want me to do that?
Okay.
Are you sure?
Is it a little bit blue?
No, but it is. I think it probably has.
Does it have room for blue?
Why are you asking me if it has room for blue? What's wrong with you?
I want it to be sexy.
It is sexy. Professor Gruber helps Doc Brown fix the flux capacitor, and convinces Marty and Doc Brown to travel to the Berlin Olympics to assassinate Hitler. Only during the assassination do Marty and Doc Brown realise it is an elaborate scheme not to kill Hitler at all, but steal 1.5 metric tons of Nazi gold. Okay, and here's the twist, and this is where it gets really stupid. The Nazis discover the DeLorean and make plans to use it to assassinate Moses. In a brief scene, we see what will happen if they succeed. By the mid-20th century, the Egyptian Empire dominates most of the world, and at its head, Hitlerotep.
You know the poster's got to be, Hitler's face on the Sphinx, right?
Hitler's face on the Sphinx and like our three heroes in the foreground kind of looking shocked.
But like Home Alone style,
Yes.
They've got their hands on their cheeks.
On each other's cheeks. They're all touching each other.
On each other's cheeks. They're petting each other's asses. That's how it gets blue.
It's actually just Marty bent over and Hans Gruber leapfrogging over him. whilst Doc Brown tinkers with the DeLorean in the background.
Looking kind of a little bit bemused by the two of them.
Yeah, I do realise that is a bit weird.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Yeah, okay, so I've got another one. Hans Gruber survives Nakatomi, escaping with the bearer bonds and without killing all the hostages, and in no time at all he's sitting on a beach earning 20%. Later, middle-aged and bored, he sets up the only wine bar in his exotic location. By chance, the McLean clan visit his wine bar whilst vacationing, and Hans must use his East German army training to become master of disguise, whilst also bonding with McLean over some nice Chardonnay. McLean enjoys his holiday and newfound love for wine, whilst Hans Gruber tries to remain undetected, in a little film I like to call Bottle Shock, Motherfucker.
Is there any room for Paul Giamatti in that by any chance?
I think there is. Could Paul Giamatti be Bruce Willis's grown-up son?
Yeah, I would say that's what I was going to say.
Even though they're like the same age.
Oh, dear.
Could Paul,
I don't know.
Paul
I mean,
be
one
Holly?
of the things about the Sorry?
Could Paul Giamatti be Holly?
Maybe. I was going to say, one of the things about the later movies, which I don't quite get, is that you get to see like McLean's kids in the first movie, and it's like there's no way that the two of them grow up to look anything remotely fucking similar to what you see in like 4 and 5.
You mean it should be
kind of look?
Should be like a young Danny DeVito playing his son in number 5?
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know what to say about that, really.
I kind of feel like they picked Jai Courtney because he's kind of got he always has his head shaved and he's got a round head, much like Bruce Willis is now, but not McLean back then. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason that Jai Courtney got the part was because Carl Pilkington turned it down.
Oh, see, that's what I want to see. And they're both, they no nonsense talking, but they cannot get along.
Yeah, I mean, so you've been living as a spy in Russia. God, that must have taken its toll. Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
It's not too bad. I've got another one here. What about the Office UK, but with Hans Gruber as David Brent's boss in the second season, and it ends with
fuck yes.
It ends with David Brent falling down an elevator shaft.
It ends with David Brent on the rooftop of Nakatomi Plaza being held up by his fucking tie.
They duke it out on the top of a building.
But it is fucking hardcore. Like, Ricky Gervais never had the same fucking career after that because he got ripped for the fucking role.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Ricky Gervais went on to be, like, Jai Courtney's role in Terminator Genesis.
Yeah. I mean, he's still, like, short, but he's like a fucking bulldog,
Yeah, Yeah, I mean,
he's a weird shape, but it's fucking lean. It's all muscle.
There's a huge debate about, whether Ricky Gervais would have had an even more prolific acting career if he hadn't pursued the World Heavyweight Championship in boxing. I've got a little one here.
Yeah.
A bad Santa-type film where Gruber has to pose as a mall Santa to break into the mall safe. Every other line is him saying, "Her, her, her."
Oh, yes.
I can't do it exactly how he does it, but
No, but it's enough. I mean,
yeah.
people. I mean, I know it. Yeah, that's fucking superb.
it does fill me with
It's
joy.
like he's completely nonsensical. It's like he has quite an advanced. He's suffering an advanced stage of dementia. He doesn't relate to anyone on a human level.
he's he's still,
all the fucking time. He never takes off the costume. It's the same Santa fucking costume, right? Like, it follows the planning and the execution of this heist, and it's like a 6-month period, and he never takes it off once. It's fucking disgusting.
he's still a master criminal, but he's got some severe problems.
Yeah, but his one piece of furniture, which you see in his rundown, in his rundown apartment, is just a rocking chair.
Just a rocking chair in the shape of a reindeer. It is so satisfying, isn't it, to hear him say "ho ho ho"?
Yes.
Now
it's
I have a
almost as
machine
satisfying
gun.
as.
I know he doesn't sound like that, but sorry.
It's almost as satisfying as your impression. My new ringtone.
Yeah, I mean, I could make him sound really arch, like, "Oh, I will be the most beautiful one on the ball. How, how, how." Or he's met 3/4 of the Sex and the City cast, and he's passed judgment on them. How.
Oh, another rim shot. That's fucking beautiful.
Oh, okay. So I've got one.
So we've got Hans Gruber on the fucking panel of America's Next Top Model. Nice.
Yeah, and he doesn't provide any kind of outlandish commentary. He doesn't really gonna bring people down. He just shoots one.
Yeah, he shoots the loser at the end of the season. Only the runner-up, every panelist up until that point who didn't quite cut the mustard, they get to go free. That's the real prize.
No,
he's trying to lose.
He doesn't even shoot the loser. He shoots just when they're introducing themselves, kind of like themselves, like the first round. Like someone comes out and she's just so stupid and so kind of grating. It's all kind of like I love God. I don't know what do stupid contestants on that show say?
I don't know. I imagine it's not things like cheese or anything like that.
So you just I don't really know.
I don't really know.
Bang!
I don't quite know. I don't mind.
All of that comes out all at once. Stinky needs a ride.
Yeah. It becomes this existential Frasier nightmare. The panelists don't know what to do. It's a very special episode of America's Next Top Model. You can't find it even online.
3 people
They
died.
burnt that shit.
Yeah.
Gruber, it was acts of mercy. It's actually his redemption arc. He actually becomes a good guy.
Yeah. Okay. So I've just read the next thing I've written, and this is pretty weird. Like, if anything I say on this episode offends anyone, this is going to be it. Okay. So this is really out there. Hans Gruber is caught at the end of Die Hard rather than dies, so he's arrested.
Mm-hmm.
He is given life in prison, but given the opportunity for a pardon if he leads a group of misfits, including young Hellboy, on a mission to assassinate Princess Diana and make it look like an accident, as she is carrying the spawn of Satan. Its selling point is its ability to offend millions of people. Did you see the Diana Memorial in Chesterfield?
Oh no, I meant to tell you this. No, I was gutted. I didn't track it down. However, I am going to be in there tomorrow.
So if anyone doesn't know, there's a memorial in Chesterfield, the UK, to Diana, and it is probably the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, I think what you need to clarify here is that Chesterfield is like a nothing town in the middle of nowhere. It really has no accolades. It has no reason, to kind of ever appear in any kind of form of media, mainstream or otherwise.
It's in the Doomsday Book. That's what they say.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
However,
Historic
it did kind of make...
town.
Oh,
yeah,
it does have the crooked spire. It made national news because they put up this memorial to Diana on the 20th anniversary of her death, and it's this botanical fucking nightmare. They tried to paint her face in flowers, and it's fucking atrocious. I'm down the road from it at the moment. I've only seen pictures, but I endeavour to fucking see it in the flesh tomorrow for reals.
For realses.
For realses.
For true.
Yes.
I mean,
I've said it on the internet, so I have to fucking
That's
stand
right.
by it now.
I think another thing, not only does it look atrocious, but it also says Princess Diana, 1997 to 2017. So it's like...
She's 20 years. She just died.
She just died. Yeah. And she
I
was
hadn't
20 years
spotted
old.
that. That's fucking nuts. Oh well, that's not. I mean, I'm not surprised that the people of Chesterfield wouldn't fucking pick up on that. But there you go.
I mean, that is weird. You don't celebrate people like that, do you? By saying, "Oh yeah, it's been 20 years without her."
Well, I mean, if that's the if those are the fucking dates that they're putting on, it's like they're celebrating the death, and maybe I didn't read the article. Maybe that's what they were trying to focus in on.
Yeah, because
know?
maybe it's got like 1997 to 2017, peace at last. So it's
it says 20 glorious years.
20 glorious years of peace without that bitch. Ooh. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the people of Chesterfield are saying that. God.
Oh well, I'm quite keen to see this episode when it comes out. See what you skillfully decide to leave in.
Well, yeah. Anyway, that's my idea. I have another one, which is really short. Hans Gruber falls off Nakatomi into a time hole. He ends up becoming king of 8th century Mercia. That's it.
Yeah, there's no hook beyond that. It's just I want to invent a scenario where he didn't die, and this was as good as any, Damien. You know.
Well,
no...
all right then. Okay, shut up. Okay, no hook. Fuck you. Okay, he goes into a time hole. He lands on the Titanic, and he saves the fucking Titanic. How do you like that?
How does he save the Titanic?
Well, he and Carl and some other German mercenaries bust into the captain's quarters, and they steer it to the Bahamas.
Right, okay, because they have prior knowledge of this tragedy, and they
have prior knowledge because they go through a time hole. They're from our time or from the 80s.
No, I appreciate that, but I just don't see what the motivation is. Why would they
save the Titanic so they don't die?
Oh right, so they're actually on the Titanic. They're not just saying don't move it off.
Oh, you mean like they get a time hole back
they're
to
in
like
the time,
1910, and they're like, the first thing we have to do is go to the Titanic and stop it from sinking.
Yeah, it's only being manufactured at this point. It's in dry dock.
Yeah, the only way they actually do it is by like bombing the dry docks. Like they still kill 300 people through bombing it. I don't know, like. I would quite like to see Hans Gruber kind of do something in ye olde times. I think he'd be a great kind of Arthurian king.
I think you're just kind of nodding towards what was it, Sheriff of Nottingham?
Sheriff of Nottingham. I guess I am a little bit. Yeah, that's true.
I want to see Hans Gruber, but with that hair.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got one more. Okay. And this is I've saved the best to last, but it's very short.
Really, the Diana thing wasn't the best.
Okay, you ready?
Okay.
This is so obvious you're going to kick yourself for not thinking about this before. Hans Gruber leads a band of villains as they invade Trump Tower. Can the Donald save the day? And the caption is just Hans Gruber, sad.
Oh yes, that's the movie. That is the movie.
Wouldn't you love to see Donald Trump do like a shot-for-shot remake of Die Hard?
Yes, yeah, but not even not as a young man, as he is
now. As he is right now, yeah.
Into that,
absolutely,
yeah,
as
so
he is.
He's just gently kind of jogging along as he can as a 70-year-old.
I mean, there's even got to be a few lines where somebody says, "Mr. President," because they're shocked at what he's doing or something.
Oh yeah, no, they could definitely kind of crowbar and kind of a nice Independence Day move like that, going in on the first fucking wave of SWAT into the building or something like that.
Like he's every hero in the movie. So he's both McClane and he's Powell outside, and he's like the SWAT commander as well, and he's the FBI.
Oh, totally.
And he's Holly as well.
And if you look carefully at under every SWAT visor and helmet, you'll see Trump's face.
Yeah, and
gently sweating away.
They're all different, like it's Trump with a mustache and stuff, and Black Trump and things like that. But it's all, it's all Trump, but it's all kind of like also the actor who originally played that role as well.
I do want to see more of Black Trump, whatever that is.
I don't know. Are there any other kind of scenarios you would want to see Hans Gruber in?
Yeah, but I suppose they kind of pale in comparison to that Diana one. I'm still reading for that. I'm going to throw my towel into the ring with that.
I thought you didn't like the Diana one.
No, I loved it. I just think it's just fucking out there.
You could call it Dinah Hard.
Oh, man. You just fucking... That's it. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's almost fully realized at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe on the way, because there's young Hellboy with them, maybe they like sneak through the sewers to get into the tunnel, and they have to fight some demons on the way.
Okay, yeah, just in case it gets boring.
Yes.
Test audiences said, there's a lot of padding in the middle there. Well, what can we do? We'll get fucking what's his face? The director Hellboy.
Oh, Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, we get him to kind of pad out with some like nice fantasy stuff in the middle.
Yeah, like there's a bit where Hans Gruber has to sneak into kind of like a banquet hall and just take a key and not eat anything. But Hans Gruber is very hungry, and it ends up with him being like chased around, not by a monster who's got eyes in his hands, but by Benny Hill.
No, it's Hellboy. He's just telling you he should have known better. But the Benny Hill music is playing.
Yeah, like Hellboy isn't going to eat him or anything. Hellboy's just going to like smack him on the bottom.
I mean, the price of admission is worth it just to hear Ron Perlman say, oi, 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 oi.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm thinking, what if we eliminate Hans Gruber from this, or Hans Gruber isn't a big deal, and it's actually Ron Perlman invades Trump Tower with Hans Gruber's men, and you could call it the Ronald versus the Donald.
All right. I do like this Ron Perlman angle. I think maybe what we're looking for is a movie with the two of them. So I think you find a scenario where Gruber isn't dead at the end of Die Hard, but we just supplement Bruce Willis with Ron Perlman.
Can you imagine if they'd have just said fuck it for Die Hard 5, and it had just been John McClane and his son, played by Ron Perlman, against a baddie, and it's just like cyborg Hans Gruber. They just fuck this. We'll just fuck it. This film's garbage anyway. We'll just bring back some cool characters.
I mean, it's like proper like Wolfenstein
Yes.
cyborg as well. It's so clumsy. Like it's Gruber's head in a fucking jar. He's got like fucking chain guns for hands. He's like 10 feet tall.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've got Carl there as well.
But also I would say that would also, we could take that and also put that in the fucking Iron Man movies as well, to kind of clear up a lot of garbage in there.
Oh my God, yes, that's a great point. Hans Gruber would have been a much better Tony Stark.
Like, still the genius, but in so much more corrupt. And with the realization of the corruption in his company, just rolls with it, When he realizes it's totally okay, he goes into fucking hyperdrive and fucks up a lot of shit.
Yeah, I mean...
There's no moral center whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, what he does is basically the movie's kind of like, it's almost like a courtroom drama, it's obviously not set in a court, but it's all just business meetings. It's very procedural, and all he's doing is setting up his company, not so that it's not corrupt, but so that it isn't fucking him, and so that it's completely streamlined. Like, it's not excessively greedy. It's as much as they can get away with while still flying under the radar. Like, it's basically like the whole film is basically a document about how to defraud the American government, about how to sell arms to Libya and things like that, about how to get heroin into the United States from South America. It's just a document about how to fuck things up.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. Technically, you can't really list Alan Rickman's performance in it because you don't actually see him act in it. All they have is, it's all set in this boardroom, and all you're hearing is like tales of his adventures, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And you just see his like pictures being bandied about in dossiers and like a flip chart or some kind of projection on the back. You never actually see him live action. But it is definitely Alan Rickman, and he's definitely Tony Stark. Yes, there we go. Iron Man, Die Hard.
Iron Man, Die Hard. And it ends like, yeah, so like it's seen through the perspective of people who are trying to investigate him, but they've got nothing on him. So they know it's him, but they've just got no proof. And then at the end it can be, well, that's it. We're done. I will never get the senator.
Yeah, because like Iron Man is not about the fact that he built like a robotic suit of armor.
No.
It's metaphorical. He's just untouchable. That's what it is.
Yeah, the second film is just him stood in front of like the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying, I am the president and I have just received emergency powers, and the first thing I will be doing is flooding America with heroin.
In fact, I could probably just, erase Die Hard in favor of that, actually.
And every time he enters or exits a room, all you can hear is soldiers going, Hydra! Hydra! Hydra!
And he comes into so much fanfare and applause,
Then again, saying that,
He loves
I'd
it.
like to see Hans Gruber in something like Apocalypse Now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like not Apocalypse Now, but a film very similar to that, where he is kind of washed up and he escaped Nakatomi, but he didn't escape with any money, and he's working out what to do, and he's living in like Borneo or something.
Oh no, he escaped with the money. He just completely went through his fingers. You know, he lived a very good life for 6 months.
Very good. Like he was king of Indonesia for quite a while.
Yeah, but there was, a revolution. There was a coup. He was not a good leader.
Yeah, no, thousands of people died. He was not a good
It was
leader.
one of the bloodiest civil wars that country has ever known in their history.
It's the only time a sovereign nation has used thermonuclear weapons on their own population. Well, I think that's kind of wrapped it up, for things that Hans Gruber could have been in.
All that he could have achieved.
All that he could have achieved. But honestly,
It simply seems that he wasn't ambitious enough.
it simply seems that he just died. That was the problem. He just died. Well, yeah. Just to kind of recap, I think that Hans Gruber could have been in many films, and obviously not as ridiculous as we've said, but he could have been in many films and been a really good villain in many films. I mean, I think I would have accepted him as a Bond villain,
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
I mean, I know that would have been a very weird crossover, but even if they hadn't kind of explained, oh, he's still alive, even if they'd have changed his name, but it was Alan Rickman doing Hans Gruber, I would have loved that. That would have been the greatest Bond villain ever.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't even, with something as campy as Bond definitely was at the time, you could easily just have him in there. And the fact that he's back from the dead shouldn't really raise any eyebrows with the kind of quality of movies that the quality of the Bond movies at that point. You
You mean the tone of them, where it was just very
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, it's a bit of fun sort of thing.
Yeah. It's very campy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that could have worked. I mean, I'm kind of surprised that he didn't do more roles which ripped off his first role. I bet he got a lot of offers.
Oh yeah, no shadow of a doubt.
So that's what we think Hans Gruber could have done at the end of Die Hard if he had lived. We'd love to know what you guys would have him do, if you could have him do anything, or rather, I would love to know. I don't think Damien cares, do you?
No, not at this point.
Not at all. Just
I mean, no, I'm totally on board with this and any subsidiary product.
Okay, so it's just an automatic endorsement from you.
Yes.
So next time we're going to be doing Rocky 8 and what that could entail. Coming up next is how the people in Swaziland see Brexit. Thank you very much for watching. Oh. Bye.
Goodbye.